Okay, so welcome everybody. This is a quick Zoom that I wanted to do about contribution. What is contribution? And what contribution are we that we're not acknowledging? It seems like with all the access classes that I've taken over the years, it's more important, or it seems really important to acknowledge what we be. And it has nothing to do with our mind and what we think we are. It really is about our being. When we start to ask these questions that fuzz out our mind, we start to expand our being and we start to create a different possibility wherever we are in the world. So this morning, early this morning for me, I woke up around 3:30 a.m. and I knew I wanted to be part of a telecall that somebody else was holding that was going to start at 4. And so my body woke me up so that I could join it. And it's as soon as people from all over the world started joining, you could just feel the energy of everybody and the space that we are as beings when we get together, when we ask questions that fuzz out our mind, like what is possible for us to be that we don't think is possible? That if we would allow the possibilities, would actualize a totally different reality on planet Earth for the next 10,000 years. And what if we used more of those questions to be out of our thinking minds so that we could be the energy of the being that we are? What would that create? I know that when I am around other people in our normal daily activity where they're really contracted and they're trying to figure out solutions to all the problems in their lives, it's so uncomfortable. And there's almost nothing you can contribute to somebody who's really in their head. All you can be is space. And invite them into being more space. And when we do that, when we be that, it changes everything. It melts their problems and their reality, and it invites them to a space, a different space. Have you guys noticed that? You know, like after you get your bars run, you're more space and there are no problems. And then we engage with people again and we get kind of sucked back into that. So I've made it a demand in my world to continue to expand, to continue to choose to be more space, and to invite other people to play with that with me. I notice that when we're together expanding, it's exponentially easier and more perceptible. So why don't we right now just do a little expanding exercise and lower your barriers. Lower your barriers to perceiving everything that your body is showing you. Lower your barriers to each other all over the world. perceive that space opening up and the connection, and perceive the planet, this beautiful planet. One of the things that they mentioned on the call early this morning was that they like to think of the planet like Santa Claus. You know, the planet knows when you're sleeping and it knows when you're awake, and it knows everything about you because it's been with you your whole life. And what if we were to just connect with the planet that's always been there for us and contribute our energy, our gratitude to it, and acknowledge its presence in our lives. So continue expanding through the planet, beyond and around the planet, connecting to each and every person on this call, and 1,000 people that each person on this call knows through them. And let's pull energy from the future that we would love to create, that we know is possible for us and for the planet. Pull energy through every molecule, through the space of you. And notice how your body starts to become more alive and tingly. And now let's flow our energy out into all the molecules and create this like back and forth waving of pulling and flowing and engaging. It's not anything you have to think about. It's just what we be together. And what if that's it? What if just you being is a contribution with no point of view? What energy, space, and consciousness beyond this reality are we, and can we be, to create a sustainable living earth for the next 10,000 years with total ease? Everything that doesn't allow that, will you destroy and uncreate it? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Cool. If anybody has any questions, feel free to interrupt. I'm just gonna look at some other clearings that I had and just share awarenesses and maybe spark some awareness in you about what you know. Oh, so the other thing that I just remembered, last night I went out to dinner with my daughter, and we were sitting in this restaurant, and I got this familiar sense in my abdomen that I tend to get when there's going to be an earthquake. And I've learned this over the years, that my body gives me this awareness. And so last night I had this like really tight in my solar plexus kind of area. And I mentioned it to her. I said, I'm just not going to eat that much. So let's just order something small, because I'm sensing that thing that I get when there's going to be an earthquake. And when we got home, I have an earthquake app on my phone. When we got home, it said that there was an earthquake like 5 minutes prior to us getting home. And it was just a really cool acknowledgement for me, because, we're all connected to the earth, whether we acknowledge it or not. But it's like, when we start to acknowledge it more and more, and not make it significant, and not make it, I'm better than anybody else. It's just, oh, this is what's true for me, and this is what my body's telling me. Then we can have the capacity of what that is. We can use it to our advantage. We can know when we need to get out of a situation that might be dangerous for our bodies. And I do remember saying at dinner about the earthquake, that I can sense it and that it's not going to be near us. And she was like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yep, it's not near us." And it happened to be in Mexico, which is way south of us. When I looked on the map, though, on my earthquake app, there's this line that goes all the way up from Mexico through Los Angeles and through San Francisco, because this is where the fault lines go. And it went from red down in the Mexico area to this lighter orange color up where we were. So it's just awareness. It's awareness, and it's knowing what we know and not making it significant. And just what contribution can we be to the planet to create a sustainable living earth for the next 10,000 years? Not to be afraid, not that we have to do anything with the information. What would it be like to simply be in the question and be out of our head? Remember, Gary says, the mind is a terrible thing, wasted. So let's not be thinking. Let's get into our being and into awareness wherever possible.
Hi, Julie.
Did somebody? Yeah.
This
Question?
is Kelly.
Hi, Kelly.
Say, just with that expansion exercise, I just really became aware of the roundness of the earth and how we're, hurtling through space. just the whole, we're really moving, and that just really expanded my awareness and connection to the earth, which was just really neat. Just being aware of the roundness, and my place on the planet. That was just really neat.
Yeah, it's cool.
And
what, you mean it's not flat?
No, we're flying. So
no strings attached.
I had a question earlier. You said when you're around people that are contracted and have a limited point of view, do you have like a go-to question that you ask to kind of expand and get out of that contraction?
Well, there's so many different things.
How do you like stay expanded when you're around that contraction?
Right. Well, there's lots of different ways you can deal with it, and it's up to each of us to find out what works. But what I do is I acknowledge, oh, that's their reality, and what's my reality? And I'll sometimes go back and forth. What's their reality? What's my reality? So I really get the difference. So I'm not sticking my head into their universe and getting stuck there. When you acknowledge that you're aware of somebody else's contraction, then you don't buy into it as yours. So that's the first thing. And by practicing expanding every day, you'll know when you're in somebody else's reality, because it will not feel like you. You know the space of you, you know the joy of you, and hopefully you're finding that it's continuing to grow every day as you choose to use these tools. I know for me, like what I used to think was joy a year ago is a fraction of what I know is possible now and what like emanates from me. And each one of us, as we run bars and clear all the outside crusty points of view that we've bought into and solidified, we become more of that space and peace and joy. But we don't necessarily recognize it because we're feel what we be. We perceive other people's stuff. So the go-to phrase of, if it's not lighter than a feather, it's not real, it's not true, and it's not you. It's another one of Gary's rhymes. That can help. I also, sometimes I tap into, Gary, Dane, Simone, Brendan, somebody else to give me that sense of difference. And, what if we don't need to do anything? We don't need to change somebody, fix somebody, or even invite them to anything. What if we can just be? Everything that makes us feel like we have to fight the contraction that other people are being. Let me just set that down. Let it go. And pock and pop.
Cool, thank you. I think staying connected to the earth, I guess it's easier. It's easy in nature to stay connected.
Hold on a second. I'm trying to find who to mute. There.
Oh, there's a lot of background noise.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying it's easy to stay connected to the earth when I'm in nature, and more difficult around people. And I guess if I just remain aware of my connectedness to earth, that would help.
Yeah, because the earth is underneath the city too. And another thing that's been sort of a revelation for me is like, what if we paid more attention to the earth, to the trees, to the animals, to the beings that are choosing consciousness than to people? Like, what if our job isn't to fix people? It's to be and contribute to the planet. Doesn't that just seem a lot easier? And when we're being that, then the people who are more interested in being space and contributing to this kind of generative living will start coming into our lives. So everywhere we decide that we had to overcome or fix or change people rather than contribute our energy to the planet, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. It's such a relief. Oh my God, we don't have to fix people. So here's a clearing I want to
Morning
share
from
with you.
Australia, everybody.
I'm so glad that you woke up early.
5:22 a.m. I'm sorry I slept in, but I woke up at 3 a.m. and thought I'd wake up in time. But I thought, yay, it's only 5:11. And it took 10 minutes to come join you. But hey, I'm here.
It's all right.
How can I get you better than that? Cheers.
So, so what mutation of you as the only source for a different possibility on planet Earth are you refusing with such intensity that you would avoid it for all eternity? Everything that is times a godzillion will you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Let's do that again. What mutation of you, as the only source for a different possibility on planet Earth, are you refusing with such intensity that you would avoid it for all eternity? Like, do you even consider that you are a source for a different possibility of planet Earth? Or do you just think, what, little me? I can't do that. How am I consequential to the planet? Well, what if we are? What if we are Earth's only hope? The people, not just the people on this call, but the people who are choosing consciousness, the people who are choosing to be themselves, the people who are not judging. So everything that brings up, will you destroy and uncreate it? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. What creation and generation of you as the mutation into the dominant species on planet Earth are you refusing to perceive, know, be, and receive? Wow, I couldn't even hear myself saying that one. So everything that is pock and pod. Oh my goodness. What creation and generation of you as the mutation into the dominant species on planet Earth are you refusing to perceive, know, be, and receive? What if human beings were no longer the dominant planet, a dominant species on the planet? What if humanoid was? Or what if humanoids choosing consciousness was the dominant species on this planet? And what would that create for the next 10,000 years or more? It fuzzes out your mind, doesn't it? So everything that doesn't allow us to know that exactly as we are today, that we are choosing to be that, even if you think you're not, even if you think you've got a long ways to go, even if you think that you're still in judgment and you're not perfect, and all the other reasons and justifications why you're not a humanoid choosing consciousness, you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Because there's something inside each one of us that knows that more is possible. And the fact that we are seeking it and choosing it might be baby steps and it might be a long distance, but we are choosing it. And that is the trajectory of our lives. We're not choosing to go against that anymore. Or maybe we are occasionally. And what if that's okay too? Anywhere you think you have to be perfect, have it all, know it all, be it all, pock and pod that. What if we already are? What is it that we already are that we're not acknowledging? That if we allowed ourselves to perceive, know, be, and receive it, would create and generate the mutation of humanoid consciousness as the dominant species on this planet. Everything that doesn't allow that, let's pock and pod it. Other questions? Yes, no, maybe.
Maybe. So I don't know if it's a question, but I've had a pretty big day. Last couple of days, I had to put my dog down, 17 years, beautiful Hooper. And it was interesting yesterday when I was ordering tiles for my new bathroom that I was laughing and enjoying myself. And I had to keep going back into this reality that it has to be something. And fair enough, grief is, I mean, I've been doing this grieving thing, but don't watch a dog's journey after you've just put your dog down. Don't do that. Too soon. It was too soon to see them putting Bailey down, and I'd just done it to my own dog 2 days before. I burst into tears and said to my daughter, no, I can't watch this. It's too soon. But it's interesting how the tools of access have, just expanding and getting out of the drama of this reality. Yeah, and I'm out of my funk within less than 24 hours. I haven't had my bath
I know,
run.
it's pretty
within
cool,
24
right?
hours, 24 hours I went to dance actually. I moved. I said, body, what do you want to do? And I connected with my body and asked it because I was going to hide in my hole and I didn't. And I went to my dance. So now I'm dedicating all that jazz dance that I'm learning to my dog, which I'll finish in 2 weeks. It's very exciting. And that just got, and you can see, that got me out of my funk. I just chose something different. And then when I met with my Tyler and my interior designer, they go, wow, God. And I got a message from them later going, it was just amazing. I don't know. What's the question? Is there anything else I can be doing or being that could? I don't know. It's almost like I want to mask myself from everybody because you're not supposed to be smiling and laughing this soon after losing an animal that you've had for 14 years. But right. It's not true. I mean, I do cry. I do fall into tears, but then it's just that quickness. So is there anything? Yeah. I mean, am I asking a question? I think I'm being grateful for the tools of access.
What if it's not wrong to not grieve like other people do in this reality?
I think it helps that there is this mutt here that's been keeping me smiling, the new one. So I'm grateful. But yeah, being grateful.
And I also noticed that when you feel the intensity the most, like the heartstrings being pulled, you can ask, is that the presence of
Hooper?
The spirit of, whoever.
I have done that, yes. And I've also
that way. And
Hooper visited me. Hooper visited me the night he passed, and he nudged my hand like you would, and it was interesting how I connected with. Sorry, I have a cat and a kitten, both dog. Just
yeah, we lost your sound. So anywhere that you go into that heaviness, it's usually because we're creating a point of view that's the opposite of what's actually going on. So if the spirit is visiting, and we think, oh, they're gone, they're actually visiting. So that's that opposite thing. So just acknowledge, oh, are they visiting, and what can I contribute? What can I receive? And if you'd like to invite them to get a new body and come back into your life, they can do that too. What if there is no end to the energy of our beings? You know, well, there isn't. We know this from Talk to the Entities. There is no end. So at a funeral, you may have to cover your mouth as you're laughing so hard you're crying so they don't see the smile.
Oh, I've done that before. I've done that before, what I've perceived, and I've had the I've seen that before with an Aboriginal man that had passed, and he was standing with us while they were doing his welcome to country. Everyone else was crying, and I'm sitting there going, but he's standing right there and he's smiling, he's happy, and I felt this joy that he was being acknowledged, and it was just, yeah, I get that. Thank you. Thank you.
Everybody, yeah, and like not everybody's going to have that. And what if it's okay for them to have their upset? And what if it's not our job to fix them or change them? Nobody likes it when they're being forced. You don't like being forced to do something. It's, you know, you can be a different space, you can be a different possibility. An interesting point of view is one of the most healing things that we can be. Interesting point of view, and expand. So what creation and generation of you as the mutation into the dominant species on the planet are you refusing to perceive, know, be, and receive? Everything that doesn't allow that, let's do some 1, 2, 3s and 1, 2, 3, 4s. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow. Wow. Many years ago, I was in I think it was an ESB class with Dane. He was here in San Francisco. And I remember my head was just pounding, and I had had my bars run for hours, and I had done all these clearings, and I'd gone through the first day of the class and it still didn't change. And the second day of the class, I got up to the mic and I said, you know, my head's just been pounding, and like, can you ask me some questions? And he said, is it yours? And I was like, well, you know, obviously it feels like mine, but no. And he's like, is it yours, someone else, or something else? And I said, something else. And I said, but I did that, and I know that, and I know it's the earth, but it's still not going away. And then he yelled at me, as only Dane can do. And he's like, in your head, you think it's the earth, and you think you know. But he's like, I know when it's the earth, and I give it back to the earth, and I contribute. And you're not doing that. You're just being wishy-washy about it. And he's like, what's it going to take for you to really know that you can be a contribution to the planet? So what's it going to take for each one of you to know you can be a contribution to the planet, that you are? And when you're in your trauma, drama, upset, what are you contributing? And when you choose to laugh and to let things go and to be interesting point of view. What are you contributing? And it's not about like the wrongness of upset and trauma drama. No, fucking enjoy it. If you're going to be trauma drama, enjoy it, because that will be a different contribution than making it wrong. So everything that brings up, will you destroy it and create it? Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds. I have to go get a Kleenex. 1 second. Sorry.
I just want to say, Julie, I've just been to, I've just at the Noosa COP, I dropped in there for an hour the other day. I literally went through a hailstorm to get there. So there you go. My car got hit, but anyway, it's now got dimples. And I went for an hour and a half and then came home, drove for an hour, got there, got back. And interesting enough, I got that headache, that same thing that you were just describing. And the next morning I still had it. And I went, who does this belong to? Is this mine? And then I got everyone's head in my head and I went, cool, okay, this isn't mine. Send it back with love and consciousness. And it took until the next morning, but it did eventually go. And it was, I get what you mean. I went, this is not mine. Oh, and it was like that. Oh, knowing, and went, oh, you know, you're humanoid. And it was just really interesting how I couldn't even speak when I was there. So I expanded when I was there because I was trying to have a conversation, and all of a sudden I had everyone's heads in my heads, and when I was trying to talk, nothing was coming out. It was just really hard to be, for me, it was hard to be in my own energy. Mm-hmm. So I just sort of stopped and expanded. And then not slowed myself down more so, just it was really, really cool awareness of how it was so many, you know, access people around me and people, because it was Noosa and it was quite a lot of people. Yeah. And that was interesting. So I get what you mean with the headache, because I did the same thing. Thank you for sharing, Julie.
Yep.
Thank you for your vulnerability.
You're welcome. So, what other questions can we ask to contribute more and to be more? What future would you really like to create in the next 10, 100, 50,000 years? What future would you like to create on planet Earth in the next 50,000 years? Like, when we put it into such a huge scope, your mind can't figure it out. And when you think, you know, like when you think of the next 10 years or 50 years and like your lifetime span, that puts you into this reality and into linearity and into all of the trappings of this reality. But when we look at 50,000 years, 100,000 years, we're an infinite being. And whether we're here in this body or a different body, what if we will be here or be on the earth in 50,000 years?
Time doesn't exist, so you can be here in 10,000 years. Just time doesn't exist, so leave this body and whatever. I got balance. Balance, that is what the earth requires.
Well, and what if you don't have to define it? Because as soon as you put it into words, you're limiting what your awareness is.
Even better.
So asking the questions and just allowing yourself to be this spaciousness and dizziness and open to possibilities coming to you. So what future do you desire to create, and what can you be to institute that? And and pot everything that doesn't allow that. And like notice how the head space just goes tsh. And what if we could do that for, just leave it there. I'm getting all these packages in the mail. I forget what I was saying.
The word sustainability comes to me, and it kind of reminds me of, I have a herd of elk, like 300 elk that travel through my property, and each year they'll graze like 1/3 of the grasses on my property, and the next year they'll do another third, and the next year they'll do another third. And they keep doing that every year. They like just eat what they need, and the way they, I don't even know the words. just the way they function and operate is sustainable for their living. They're just aware of that.
Exactly. And they don't think. They just know.
No, they just like, yeah, they just know. It's like, okay, this year this is our food supply, and we'll munch this area, and we'll move on. It's just really neat to observe that.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I see that in my children. Interestingly enough, they're very aware of what things do to the planet, and they're looking for alternative ways to handle it. So like they're really into composting, and they're into alternative things than plastic, and they're not doing it in a way that's judgmental of other people. They're just choosing it because they love the planet and they want to do that for them, so that they know that they're contributing in the way that works for them. And it sort of makes me want to, like, oh, okay, so I'm going to get one of these bottles too.
And stop using the straws and get your own straws. I've got ones in my bag so that I don't have to use plastic ones, and little things that we can do.
Exactly. And, you know, those are just little things that we can do. And it's great. All of it's great. But what if none of it was right and none of it was wrong? And we took the judgment piece out. Like, how much, look at, if you just took judgment out of your life, what would that create on the planet? And then by you doing that and being that, it would create a ripple effect. I know that when I'm in classes and when I'm facilitating classes, I be a different energy, and I work really hard at being that all the time. But it seems to me like it's easier when we're together, all choosing it, and it grows. And I lost my train of thought again. Wow. So
be the energy.
Yeah, be the energy.
And it's being in tune with nature as well. And being in tune with the planet. And what does the planet require?
Yep.
What do we require?
And what if it's not just about straws and plastic? Like, what if we were always in the question of what does the planet require today? What can I contribute to it? And what can I receive from it? I get that it really wants us to receive as well as to gift. So what if we lowered our barriers and received more from the planet? You know what it's like when somebody receives from you? What an honoring that is to you. And you know what it's like when somebody doesn't receive from you. How horrible it feels. Like you can't connect. So what if we were to allow ourselves to connect more with the planet energetically? Don't have to tell anybody about it. Just be it. That's what I'm choosing. And so let's do some 13s that allow us to change tracks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 13, 13, 13, 13, 13, 13. That feels light. Yay. Cool.
I'm getting a look from my cat. She goes, yeah, you can do your 13s, but give me my breakfast now.
So any other questions, you guys? No? Well, I'm really glad that you joined. This would be a lot different if it was just me. So thank you for your contribution. And let's just do another little, like, without a point of view about California and the fires and all of that crap, because there's stuff going on all over the planet. But what contribution can we be to the planet to create a sustainable living Earth for the next 10,000 years of total ease? And everything that doesn't allow that, right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. Cool. Thank you. And I hope you all know about my free group on Facebook that's called Expand Space to Unwind. Every Monday I facilitate an expand exercise. And what else is coming up? Oh, starting December 1st, I'm doing a 21 days of having your own back. So I'm excited to see what that's going to be. So if you'd like to join, it's on my website. And I hope to see you again sometime soon. This was fun. And I will post the recording. I'll send you guys, the people who registered, I'll send you the email, and I'll probably post the recording somewhere on Facebook also so you can share it with other people. I would love that. Like, how many more people can we have being, receiving, and contributing to the earth to create a sustainable living earth for the next 10,000 years or more? All right, thanks so much for joining.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you, Julie.
Love you guys.
Love you too.
Bye-bye.
Have a
Bye.
great day, morning, whatever time of day it is.